Good day, everyone. So here in my Discord chat, I had Chloe tell me that someone mentioned me in Jello Impact's video, which was quite fun. So I went over to Jello Impact's video and he talked about the 4-star problem. Now, doesn't that really ring a bell? Let's see. On my channel, why 4 stars only and 4-star weapons are not if to be reasonable, brought to you more than about a year ago. So for me, it was quite fun and interesting to note someone else, perhaps like someone much bigger than me, actually also talk about a problem we used to talk about in a lot of detail. And I think for me, what I want to do is add more to this discussion, because there was a section here in the middle where Jellos talked about the gacha rates and stuff, but he didn't put like in any concrete numbers. He didn't really put in the mathematical statistics, and that's what I want to talk about. And the reason I want to talk about it is because when it comes to Genshin, we've got things like GC Sim. We can look at character DPS, we can look at what the implications of weapons and builds are, we can even look at samples, we can look to the very exact frames and see how much Hydro is being applied to Dendro and how that affects the aura. So we've got all this detail when it comes to looking at the characters, but when it comes to the mathematical statistics of 4 stars and their 4-star pull rates, nobody seems to even know what really is happening. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to talk about why 4 stars are not such a good deal. So the first thing to note is that if players, or if you have like a new player in your game in Genshin Impact, one of the things that people might say is that they can buy Xingshu, Shangli and Bennett from the Star Glitter shop. Unfortunately, because you're a new player, every copy of a 4-star that you get is only going to give you 2-star glitter. In other words, by the time you get enough 34-star glitter so that you can buy your beloved Xingshu, you would have already gotten a 5-star. And that just holds true for the fact that, well, you're not only going to be buying Bennett, Xingshu, and Shangling, but many of the others as well. So that's the first thing I just need to point out. But when it comes to 4 stars, really, what is the situation like, especially for new players? Well, this is exactly how the situation is like. If you want a specific 4-star character, that is 36 wishes on average. Most of you might get lucky, so you can get 2 of your specific or a specific 4-star within 2 wishes, with a maximum worst case scenario of about 147. It really is statistically unlikely to go beyond that. But if you want this 4-star character at C6, it's going to be 252 pulls, whereas a specific event 5-star character on average is 94 pulls. Yes, I know it might not feel like that, but that is what it is, and your variation for your specific event 5-star character, your rate up character, varies between 4 to 165 pulls. That's about the first to the 99th percentile of your pulls. So in other words, if you really look at this on an average basis, you can get 2 specific event 5 stars for every like 4-star. Now some of you might be like, okay, what's this Reddit chart? I don't believe you. You're just making this all up. And I'll tell you, well, I'm not. There is actual mathematics that we've done to recreate the gacha simulator. We've coded this up. We can actually physically investigate this, and we've also used the project here on genshinwishes.com to accumulate millions of wishes and pulls from players and analyze that against the data. So in other words, if there's anything that's even more precise than GC Sim, it would be our wishing simulator. We know exactly how the gacha works, how to theory craft the gacha. This is one thing I've actually done on my channel in quite a bit of detail, explaining how Genshin's and Honkai Star's gacha system works, even things like, are there such a thing as like a lucky account? And I've even explained that an account might be lucky early on only to be extremely unlucky later on. But the problem, of course, in the game is that the incidence of your luck with your account progression is going to make far more of a difference than the long run average, which is why I suggested to Hoyo to actually put an effective cap on the upper variance of your gacha losses, but they just said they believe the system is fair. I showed them the probabilities, I told them they are idiots, and then they were just like, sorry, we'll pass on your feedback. And I'm like, oh, whatever. You know what, if you guys don't want to do better, at least I'll explain why this is such a scam. So coming back to the topic at hand, yes, when it comes to 4-star characters, it really is is not that easy to get them. I've even explained in my own video when it came to Chevres how I got free Uemia copies before I got C6 Chevres. That is the reality people need to understand. The other reality is that you still need to level up the 4 stars. It's still going to take a lot of like materials to get them, artifacts to eventually get them up and running to a very, very decent level, to the point that by the time you've done all of that and you go into the Spiral Abyss and you play your beloved National, because that's the only thing that Sir Jeff and the mob preach, you would have already had a 5-star and you could have already built them, and that 5-star could have taken their place. I've done this before on my channel as well. I've done things like doing F2P 4 stars only, 4-star weapons showcases, and you know what, if I just took Fischl, Sucro, Daona and Barbara and I ran this Taser, Clam, Ocean Youth Clam variant, whatever mix that I have here, and I just replaced one of these characters with a 5-star, immediately the run is a lot faster, it's a lot cleaner. And that despite the fact that all of these characters were at C6 at the time when I did this about, I don't know, more than like 1.5 years ago. So for me, when it comes to the 4-star problem, it is a significant problem for new players. I think it is disingenuous to tell new players, and this is nothing, again, this is not what Jello does, but I think it's disingenuous from other content creators and especially certain theory crafters to tell new players, go for Xingshu, go for Bennett, go for Xiangling, because sometimes they are on banners that might not synergize that optimally or that well with the other characters that are on the banner. It's just, I mean, these are just some of the points that Jello Impact himself also echoed, but I think having an honest conversation and really understanding that the key to getting good strong 4 stars is literally time in the game. It's not just you're going to beat the Spiral Abyss as quickly and as F2P as possible. And it also then tells you the other side of the story is that a lot of these characters need constellations to be good and effective. Now, it doesn't mean that you need these constellations to be good, but it really helps. Xiangling C4 really helps if you do have it. It's the same with stuff like Bennett C1 or Xingshu C6 and some of the other characters as well. And I think from my perspective, there's always this frustration where I cover topics like this, and whilst the support way back when was positive, it always is just crazy how people eventually wake up to these things. I mean, for instance, here was a topic which was quite fun when Yelan came out. A lot of people said, you know, Yelan is a side grade to C6 Xingshu, and Tenten was the first person to quote that phrase. Literally day one, I said that is the biggest load of nonsense you can put out. Within a week, a lot of players realized, oh, wait a minute, Yelan is actually kind of pretty good. And we're now at a stage where you might even be aiming for a C1 or a C2 Yelan before you even have gotten like a C6 Xingshu. Once again, it depends on when you started playing, what type of characters you got. I mean, even on my channel, I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, we don't want to use Nilo with Kokomi because not all the new players have Kokomi, but they certainly have Yao Yao and C6 Xingshu. And then I look at the banner history and I look at, you know, someone that literally started playing Genshin Impact, and I'm like, there's no way you just have a copy of Yao Yao and a C6 Xingshu so conveniently for the sake of the argument that that's going to be the better choice than Kokomi with Nilo. And it's just crazy, like when I read the comments and see how devoid they are from reality. So thank you, Jello Impact, for actually pointing this out. Thank you for vindicating a video I made more than a year ago. Hopefully the probability chart adds some context. Hopefully people can start using their brains as well and think about how many wishes it's going to take on the Star Glitter shop to actually buy a character. And also to realize that by going for a character, you're implicitly assuming that you have to pull on that character. Players are going to have to follow your pulling strategy. I call it like the tautology of Xiangling. Basically, a lot of people will tell you to pull on Xiangling because she's strong. What happens eventually is that a lot of people get a strong Xiangling and they'll tell you, oh, she's strong, therefore you pull on her. There's this almost like tautology, and no one's really looked at the fundamentals and have said, hey, but is this perhaps like the best way for especially like new players to like grow their accounts, build units that are going to be synergistic and that can really help them? And yeah, that is just what I have to put out there. So I know I sound exasperated. I'm exasperated because time and time again I say these things, and it's almost like a year later when it gets pointed out. And I'm glad it's pointed out on Jello Impact's forum, because a lot more people are obviously going to listen to him than to me. But I hope that this and some of the other issues, in particular the fact that Xing, Shu, Xiangling, and Bennett are incredibly overrated as units, will also eventually come to the fore, and people also realize that this game is far more open in terms of the amount or the different playstyles that you have with the characters than what is like told or like advertised in all of the Genshin guides and stuff. But that is me saying my piece. So, not really a reaction to Jello Impact, but just perhaps adding a bit more statistical backing to the things he said. And yeah, he is 100% right in his video about the 4-star problem. Cool. Have a great day, everyone. Cheers.